What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the AutoVlog YouTube channel. Hope you are having a fantastic day. If you guys didn't see the previous video, you won't know that the F150 got a complete revamp. So we got like a 2.0 version of my 2021 F150 Lariat. We'll quickly go over it here. So we got new wheels, 20x12s, fuel Triton wheels sitting on 35-inch Nitto Ridge Grappler tires. We also have brand new suspension. This is the 4-inch coil-over kit from BDS with the Fox shocks, the reservoirs, all that good stuff. As we walk around the truck here, we have, they're not new Ford emblems. They're the same ones, but they were repainted. So instead of a blue oval, it's black, and then Ford lettering in red, and then the outline in red as well. There's a reason why I'm doing it in red. That'll be coming up in later videos. So my wife and I, we were in Birmingham, Alabama, and dropped the truck off. It was built by Town and Country Ford and TC Customs. They did a fantastic job. During the time it was built, we drove down to Destin as well and had a great time. Now that is Florida, so we had sunny weather. It was beautiful. I played golf. We had a good time. Now we're back in Pittsburgh in a snowy, windy, and cold, and also, as you might be able to tell by the look of the truck, salty Pittsburgh. Now if we jump in here real quick, we'll take a look. Hope you guys can see that. We got 2,206 miles on the truck. I'm jumping inside here for a quick second just to warm up a little bit. Now, when we drove down to Alabama, that's 750 miles just to get there. We got about 17.1, I think, miles per gallon. That's when the truck was still in stock format. It has the 5-liter V8. I got a lot of people asking me what the fuel economy was like after we put the big wheels and the tires and the lift and all that stuff. And that's a good segue in today's video, because we're going to talk about things that you should know before you modify a truck. This is my second build of a truck. Our Raptor, we can't really call it a build because it's mainly stock. The first one I had was a 2015 Ford F150 XLT. Now we have a new F150, the 2021. So some of the things that we'll cover in today's video pertains to any truck, no matter what brand you have, not just a Ford. With the build starting on the 2021, we noticed that some things are actually different from the previous generation F150. So we're going to talk about things that you should know before you start modifying a truck, and specifically, I guess, the latest generation F150. Now the truck is not clean anymore like it was in the previous video, but I don't mind at all. It looks badass. We took it for a short little ballet class here in the intro. But we're going to start talking about the wheel option here, and that pertains to the fuel economy. I picked, like we said, the 20x12s fuel Tritons. Now these wheels have a negative 44 offset, as you can see by the big lip that sticks out here. And putting 35s on 20x12s is a lot of weight, rotational mass in better terms. Now obviously have it up front as well. So one of these wheels, with tires of course, weigh about 100 pounds. It's probably slightly over that. So that means the truck is a lot heavier. It also means that it feels like you lost about 50 horsepower. It's definitely not gonna make the truck fast. So if that's your plan, to have a fast truck that is, you don't really get wheels like this. And I know a lot of these things that I'll be talking about today, for truck guys, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but for people that haven't modified their truck yet, or they're planning on doing that, this could be good information to know. With that being said, just look at it. It's got such an aggressive stance because the wheel and the tire, they stick out, and yeah, it looks awesome. So when we drove back from Birmingham, Alabama to Pittsburgh, the fuel economy changed from 17 miles per gallon to 13. Now that's doing around 80 to 90 miles an hour on average on the highway. It's not really driving the speed limit, but I think most people somewhat drive over the speed limit. So that's kind of what you can expect. A decrease in fuel economy on this truck is about 4 miles to the gallon. Now, having wheels like this with a negative offset can also make it a little harder to get the perfect balancing, because you put these little balancing bricks obviously on the inside of the wheel. If you want to get it 100% perfect, you can put additional pads out here, but that just, it doesn't look right. Now, with that being said, we managed to get the balancing just right. So there's no vibration in the steering wheel. I don't feel it in the seat, so I got lucky. But I just know from previous experience that it can be a little harder to get the balancing right when you have big tires and big wheels. These aren't really street tires either. Now another thing that you have to do if you get these size wheels and tires, at least with this size lift, 4-inch, if you go 6-inch you might get away with it, you will have to do some cutting, and when you do a full turn you will get rub on the inner fender. And also what we noticed on a 2021, the bumper. See, this is different from the previous truck that I had where we didn't have to cut anything in the bumper. I guess there's a minor change in diameter of the wheel well or whatever it is, or just the size of the truck. So what they did was they cut here in the front bumper, and it's actually a really good job, so you can hardly tell unless you know. And then also this little splash guard, I don't know exactly what this is called, they cut that as well, but this is just plastic. See, this is the actual bumper. And then you can see this fender liner here, they cut there as well. They also removed the front crash bar, which is a common thing you do to be able to have clearance at full turns. With that being said, one difference is they did not have to touch the rear crash bar. And this crash bar actually prevents the wheel to enter the cabin at a severe impact if you have an accident. So a lot of shops, they don't really want to touch it, and Town & Country Ford, they told me as well, for liability reasons, we're not going to cut this off. If you want it off, you're going to have to do it yourself. But when they installed the lift and the wheels, what they noticed was there's full clearance. They didn't even have to touch it. And that is different from my previous generation F-150. So it's just interesting to know, because a lot of people that see this new generation F-150, they can't really tell that much of a difference in the look of the truck. But I think it's 96% of this truck is different from the previous generation. And in regards to modifications, you know, putting a lift on there, that is actually a pretty big thing, that you don't have to remove the rear crash bar, at least when doing a lift like this with these size wheels, because it is quite honestly a safety concern. So it's nice to be able to have the rear crash bar intact, and we didn't have to cut it or remove it. Now another thing that we should talk about is legality. In the state that I live in, Pennsylvania, you're not really allowed to have fun with your truck and you know, modify it, have wheels that slightly stick out. It is illegal in the state. In other states like Alabama, for instance, Texas, Florida, they don't really care. But in the state of PA, you got to be careful when putting this type of wheel setup on your truck. You won't pass inspection with this type of setup. Hopefully I won't have any problems, but you never know. I did on my old truck, if you guys remember. Now we could talk about forced induction as well, but this truck isn't supercharged yet. And I had some issues, to say the least. The engine blew, but we're not going to talk about that in today's video. We'll talk about it once I get the supercharger installed and the precautions that you need to take when adding several hundred horsepower to your truck. Now another thing that speaks for itself is a lift will make the truck a lot higher, so you might have issues getting into parking garages. My truck sits at about, I would say, 6.9 feet, maybe 7. Most of the parking garages in Pittsburgh, they are 6.5 to 8. So I would not be able to daily drive this truck and, you know, go to restaurants like we do and park in parking garages and so on with a 6-inch lift. I just can't do it, which is one of the reasons why I picked a 4-inch. I also think a 4-inch just, it sits better. By the way, now the exhaust that we got on there doesn't really pertain to today's video. Just wanted to show you guys, if you didn't see the previous one, this is the first, it's actually a prototype exhaust that we got from MagnaFlow. My truck is the first one in the country with this exhaust, which is kind of cool. Now before we end today's video, we're going to mention one little improvement that we got today, and that is vent shades from WeatherTech. This is the third truck that I'm putting these on. I had them on my old truck. We also have them on my wife's Raptor. It's definitely the sleekest design. It's the best looking. It's kind of integrated in the actual window, and it just gives it a very clean look. It's not other brands, they'll kind of tape them on top of here, and I just don't like the way that it looks. So that's the reason why I picked these WeatherTechs. With that being said, Rich, who installed these today. He said this is the last F-150 that I'll ever do them on, because Fords, for whatever reason, the other brands not so much, like Chevy and Dodge, but Fords, they have an issue with these vent shades. So if you guys plan on getting these WeatherTechs, keep in mind that you might have an issue with fitment and being able to open and close your window. I, thank God, have never had those issues, but a lot of people have. So Rich, who installed them, he said this is the last time I'm doing it on an F-150. I took the chance. I still wanted them because I love the look, and they work just perfectly. We got to jump inside. It's so cold outside. My hands are ice cubes. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. They're just things that you should think about before you start modifying your truck, or at least heavily modifying your truck with lifts and big wheels and tires and so on. Fuel economy is going to be affected. The ride in this truck is still phenomenal. It's not like it's a harsh ride at all, but the suspension is made for off-road use, jumping and a lot of bumps and stuff. But the reward with modifying a vehicle is that you personalize it and you fall in love with it all over again, and you make it your own. So all these little things that you have to think about, and minor issues that you might have, you got to cut a little bit in the bumper and so on, it's all worth it for me. But if you enjoyed the video, give it a huge thumbs up. If you're stopping by for the first time and you haven't already and you feel like you want to, please subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.